Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations, and thanks for joining me today. I'm gonna play today. So here's what I'm thinking. I thrifted this wood charger plate. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be painting it rather than just plain wood. So for those of you that are looking, going, I love the pattern on that wood. Sorry. I'm going to be painting it. But I decided that what I wanted to do was turn it into a clock. Now, I've never made a clock before. So yeah, we'll see, we'll see how that goes. So what I did do was I ordered a clock kit off of Amazon. So it has 4 because I thought maybe I'll like making clocks. So we'll see. And if I like it and I figure it out, it could be a cool class. So who knows? So this is the main mechanism. Obviously needs a battery, and that will be going in the back. So my first order of business is I'm gonna have to find a drill bit this size and find my center and drill a hole. But the other thing is I took a look at, I thought, oh, I have a clock stencil, clock face stencil for a Mora clock from Jamie Ray Vintage. It's too small, of course. It's 11 inches, which is lovely, but I either had to have the numbers go around on the inside and then do something with the outside, or have the numbers go around the outside. This is half and half. It kind of hangs over both. So I'm going to be taping it off, and I'll have to stencil one at a time, right? So stencil the 12 and then pull the 6 down, stencil the 6, and so I'm going to have to be doing some measuring, which is just more work for me, but way to mess with my head on my first clock. But I'm going to do those. So yes, now this kit came with 4 clock mechanisms. All right, it came with these things too. I'm not sure that I actually know what those are. Maybe that goes in. All right, so I'm thinking that goes on there before I put it into my plate. And then, well, okay, if that's hanging hardwood, that's not going to work for me anyway, because it's going to stick way out from my plate. So I'm going to have to do some futzing and create something bigger on the back. So I'm not going to worry about what the hell that is. Okay, it did come with a number of different hands. So I have 4 mechanisms, and I have 5 hands. 6 hands, because I dropped one. So I have 6 hands. So I have some options. So I am thinking that I'm going to have to go, because there's some shorter ones that would have been perfect if my numbers were on the inside of my plate, right? So let me take this off. So there are some shorter hands, and they would have turned maybe on the inside, which would be good if my numbers were on the inside. But because my numbers are on the outside, I think I'm going to want to have some hands that go out further, that go out to the edges, so that that's where my numbers are going to be. So what I am thinking is, when I go to paint this, I'm going to paint it all, and I'm maybe going to find something to do on the inside, on this center circle, because there's a lip here. So I'll have my numbers on the outside lip. I'll have something inside, so I don't know. Maybe I'll decoupage something, or I will transfer something. I'll do something. I don't know, but I'll do something. So that this will be patterned, this will be plain with the numbers stenciled on the outside, and then I'll have the hands. That's my plan. I hope that's clear. So first things first, I gotta drill a hole. So I'm gonna go look for the drill bit, and I am just going to be measuring off my center, and this is perfectly okay because I'm going to be able to draw on this. So all I'm going to be doing is taking my ruler. I'll actually get my tape measure and do that. Oh, or a longer ruler. There you go, and a longer ruler. So this is about, couldn't be 12 inches or 13 inches, right? It had to be 12 and a half and 3/4 and an 1/8. Great. Okay, so I'm gonna be marking this and marking, I'm gonna find my center, and that's where I'm gonna drill my hole. And it has to be wide enough for this base to fit in. And I think it's just easier to do before I start painting and doing all that kind of stuff, because then I will know where the hole is, especially if I go to decoupage over top. I don't want to be drawing lines all over whatever, and I think it'll just be easier because I could just poke my hole through if I'm decoupaging, or if I do a transfer or something, so I can just poke through the existing hole. Okay, I don't know why I'm intimidated by making a clock, but I am feeling a little intimidated by this. I think because there's hardware that needs to operate, and no instructions whatsoever with how you attach these suckers. I think there's a little tiny nut, little skinny little nut there that somehow I think makes this operational. No, what the heck? I've already expensed the mechanism, so the worst thing that happens is I have a plate with a hole in it. So let me look for the drill bit and then I'll come back. My top coat has dried, so it's now time to start our stenciling. And I am using the More Clock Stencil. This is what it looks like from Jamie Ray Vintage. It comes with little stenciled clock hands if you wanted to do it. Obviously, we don't need to do that because we're putting real clock hands on. But the other piece to this is that this clock face doesn't actually fit. It kind of chops off all of my numbers. So I'm gonna have to do some eyeballing of this. And what I'm looking at doing is dropping my numbers down so that they kind of sit in between. And they've got little dots in between. I think I'm only gonna do like the little dot on either side, and there's a little 4-dot piece below it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna start with the 6, go up to the 12, go over to the 9 and the 3, and then I'll have to kind of judge the spacing of the numbers in between. Yay, okay. Always lovely when I start faking things. So as long as I don't really mess it up, it should be okay. I'm just taking a little bit of plastic off to the side because this is where I'm gonna offload some of my paint. And for this, I'm gonna use a smaller stencil brush just because of those little dots. They're pretty tiny. I'm using Weathered Wood by DIY. So it's kind of in a deep taupey gray, because I think that the black would just look too harsh. And I really haven't figured out yet what I'm gonna do on the inside. I'm thinking that I need to perhaps see this part done and then check my stash. So there are different methods of stenciling. in terms of swirling the paint or pouncing, which is what I'm doing here. I'm pouncing because these are pretty narrow little spots and with the little dots. So there we go. Yay. All right. So you can see what I said about the dots underneath and the dots on either side. And that's what I'm going to do for all of the numbers all the way around. And that should work okay. So what I'm looking at doing is kind of lining up my 6 with my 6. Let me see if I can pull this down a little bit so you can see, so that they look sort of aligned and straight before I start in on my 12. So I want to dip in my paint, offload off to the side, and then start my pouncing again. So better to put like a little light coat on and then, you know, move over to the rest, then move back over it again to add more paint on if you wanted, just rather than trying to get a really heavy coat in to begin with, just so that you don't end up with too much paint and with it leaking underneath. I am probably gonna lightly distress this, which if I have a little bit of leakage, it should take care of it, but it looks pretty good. Okay, so I am going to carry on by adding my 9 and my 3 and the rest of the numbers. I will come back at you and show you that. We'll do some distressing together, and I'll probably then seal them up again. And maybe by then I'll have made a decision about the center. I would ask you to weigh in on it, but you're not live, and I'm really missing that on this one because I would like you to weigh in on it. So we'll see where it goes. Okay. There are our clock numbers. So not too badly spaced and kind of cute with the little dots just up at the top and by each number. So I'm going to let this dry a bit because I just finished stenciling and I can't remember which ones are wetter and not. So I'm gonna let it dry and just gonna lightly sand it. I just want to, you know, you can feel the numbers, you can feel like a little bit of the jagged part from having pounced, right? So I just want to smooth the paint out a little bit, and then I'm going to seal that rim again, and then we'll come back and we'll look at putting some kind of something in the center. So I'm going to look at some of my transfer stash and other options, and I'm kind of leaning toward transferring versus decoupaging, just because I seem to have been decoupaging a lot lately, but that might still be the way to go. Who knows? So we'll see. We'll see what I got in terms of options, and then I'll be back again. What I did do was I took a look at the brocante transfer from IOD. It's got tons of different images to be able to go with. I forgot it had a clock. I could have probably used that clock. Might have been the perfect size. I'm not even going to check just in case it is, because then I could be heartbroken. So only if I get another charger plate will I look. But in the meantime, I decided I really like this cute little sheep. So I cut out the sheep and I cut out the words above it. There are some words that I cut off because they would run through the middle too much. So I'll save them for a different project. But I think this will be cute. This is kind of a little bit farmhousey anyway, so I think it'll be good. And that's what I love about the transfers, is just being able to cut them up, use them as you will. So I've removed the backing paper, I've stuck it down onto my surface. Because I have already sealed the surface with a top coat, right? We use the big top from DIY. This will go on really quite easily. It likes a slick surface. in which case, so I'm just kind of lifting up one corner of it just so that I can slowly lift it away from the image and see if there's any little sections that haven't stuck or that I didn't go over with the kind of the embellishing tool. Ooh, he's so cute. All right, I just like to take the backing paper and rub it on there again just to make sure it's fully embellished on there. These letters, I kind of curved it a little bit so I could fit them in better. I might need to take off a little bit by the C just so I can get that curve happening. All right, let's see how this goes. All right, I'm just being a little careful as I put it down because once it's down, it's kind of stuck. Like even if I wanted to try and reposition this, you can hear it might not all like coming up. Oh, I didn't really need to reposition. I was just showing, but now that I've done it, let me make sure. Okay, we're in. We're going for it. Just try and get an edge. Whoa. I guess it was mostly stuck on there. A little bit of my E. There we go. And a little bit of my C. And we're good. Okay. So cute, right? I love that. Okay, so I'm going to seal that up again before I would put my arms on and things, just so that again, it's all sealed. But I want to just kind of talk a little bit about what's happening here with our mechanism. All right, so this does fit, we know it fits, but it's got paint that's gone down onto the inside. So we just want to push it in, make sure. So here's part of our dilemma. Let me get rid of some of that. All right. When this is attached, it means up against the wall, it's going to stick out a little bit. And if I put just hanging hardware here, it's going to sit on an angle because this is going to be a little bit deeper. So what I do want to do is I do want to take a look at how I might have to build this up a little bit. So I have an idea. I have little blocks and little bricks from the dollar store. So this is like the tumbling tower game. And this is, they're both tumbling tower games, just two different sizes. So that way the wood is going to be a little bit of a different size. And this is kind of an easy way to be able to get some wood pieces that you can build around. I think I might need the bigger ones, so let me go there first. Oh my goodness, you even get little wooden die with it. And they have like 1s and 2s and 3s on them. Doesn't matter. Okay, let me get a piece of wood out. So what I'm looking at is what's its size relative to this piece, because this is maybe where I want to put my hanging hardware, right? So that it's going to keep this flush and keep this a little bit safe. That might be a little too deep. What happens with these little baby ones? Okay, they two are just a tiny bit higher. This is almost flush, it's just slightly lower. But if I did the hanging hardware, it would probably be fine. Okay, so I'm gonna go with that one. And the difference for this is just, as this is sitting against the wall, this will be where the hanging hardware is. And it gives us something to be able to hang that's gonna let our plate, our clock, sit flush against the wall. So what I am gonna do is I'm gonna hot glue this in place. I'm gonna wanna paint it white, just because everything else is, you know, for continuity's sake, for consistency's sake. And I'll put my hanging hardware on there. So that's what's happening there. This, I don't necessarily want to glue in place, because if it breaks down, I could take it out and replace it with another one from the kit, right? So I haven't tested them, I'm assuming they work. But if it doesn't, I want to be able to take it out easily without having to rip everything apart to do that. So I'm going to use double-sided Velcro and Velcro it in place. That way I can take it in and out, right? So those are my next steps, is gluing that in place, Velcroing that in place, before I then flip it over and seal my images on the other side, and then we start playing with the hands. So we're almost there. I'm gonna Velcro, glue, paint, and then come back at you. So hang in. Okay, our clock base is done. The front is done. We need to attach our hardware. This came with no instructions, just saying. Because if you've done this before and you're sitting here as I'm trying to figure this out, yelling at your screen, sorry. I'm just gonna have to fake it. Okay, let me make sure I don't lose any of those little parts in there. Goodness. Okay. Well, there's a big plastic washery thing, a little gold washery thing, a little nut that isn't going to screw onto anything. Oh, you stay in there. So I'm not sure how this all stays in place, actually. Well, let's just try putting things on. Hour hand first, minute, hour first, I think. Let's put the hour. Let's put the minute. And push them on. This one has a second hand. Push it on, I guess. Okay, looks pretty cute. You can definitely tell where it's telling the time. I'm gonna go find a battery and see. I do have clock movement. What I don't know yet, and I'm gonna have to kind of let it sit for a bit, I don't know whether or not I have actual good timekeeping. So I know that the second hand is moving. I don't know if the minute hand moves or the hour hand moves. We'll see. It may mean that I have to keep futzing a little bit with those hands and their attachment and whether or not they've caught perfectly. So I'll see. But overall, really an easy project, and gosh, this is cute. I really like this. So I would definitely say picking up an old charger plate, having some fun and creating a wall clock is a super fun, easy little project. So definitely give this a try, guys, if you come across one of these. Worth thrifting to find. Until next time, take care.